Good evening. I'm Korean Consul General to New York. My name is Gheewhan Kim. This is more than 1 year to be posted to New York as Consul General. This is one of the most important events that Korean Consulate is hosting with Carnegie Council on the timely topic on threats and opportunities on the Korean Peninsula. First of all, I would like to thank President Joel Rosenthal, Carnegie Council President, for hosting this timely event. And also thank Joanne Myers, Director of Public Affairs Program, for moderating today. And also thank my all colleagues and friends, Mr. Scott Snyder and Ms. Sumi Terry, for their renowned professional insights on today's topic on Korean Peninsula and North Korea. As you know, North Korea's Workers' Party was held 4 days from May 6 to 9. This was seventh Party Congress held in 36 years. The Party Congress endorsed Kim Jong-un, the young leader, as supreme leader of the party, chairman of the Workers' Party, while outlining priority work programs and setting up a party structure to support Kim Jong-un leadership. In his speech to Party Congress, young leader Kim Jong-un reaffirmed his intention to continue his Pyongyang policy, which aims to achieve nuclear weapons and economic development simultaneously. It was his consistent policy since March 2013. So it is more than 2 years. 3 years now. 3 years. In the nuclear weapons front, North Korea is in the throes of achieving technological advances, such as miniaturizing warhead, a long-range intercontinental capability, a technology of re-entry into atmosphere, and striking accuracy. North Korea's young leader, Kim Jong-un, made strong efforts to impress his leadership by making a fourth nuclear bomb test in January, and by launching intercontinental ballistic missile. They call it satellite launch, but basically it is intercontinental ballistic missiles in February. Last month, North Korea launched 3 intermediate-range ballistic missiles named Musdan, but failed. North Korea also test-launched submarine-launched ballistic missile, SLBM, which was not fully successful. In economic development, North Korean economy is in bad shape. I think many reporters visited a 7th Party Congress and just described how Pyongyang is like a Potemkin village. It's for show off, but real stuff is not there. So this is there is some diversity in Pyongyang, but this is for show off, and the population of North Korea is under heavy famine and just neglected for a long time. Since Kim Jong-un announced his Pyongyang policy in March 2013, North Korea's public distribution system has all but failed. It is now only used to reward the elites of the establishment. Because of this, blank markets have mushroomed to fill the widening gaps. Actually, blank market is kind of lifeline when public distribution system fails. Many construction projects were undertaken, but most had been for show and to reward the elite, such as theme parks, high-rise apartments. North Korea's infrastructure and industries are operating at below 40%. Simply put, North Korea still needs to go a long way to achieve sophisticated levels of mid to long-range nuclear missiles. Neither North Korea has achieved the level of economic development to sufficiently feed North Korean people yet. North Korean regime's capability to reward its elites of the establishment is shrinking. North Korea is now under unprecedented multilateral and bilateral sanctions because North Korea tested the nuclear bombs in January, launched long-range ballistic missiles in February. Korean government added bilateral sanction measures by suspending the Kaesong industrial complex, which had generated a total of $560 million. This was a kind of peace project that survived ups and downs of North-South relations. But this time, this project suspended. About 70% of the money generated from the project was suspected to have financed North Korean leaders' projects, including nuclear and missile programs and luxury goods for reward. This was stopped. In the United States, the North Korea Sanctions Enforcement Act of 2016 was signed into law on February 18 this year. This is a strong measure which includes secondary sanctions against any third party doing business with North Korea. Also, European Union and Japan have imposed bilateral sanctions against North Korea. Multilaterally, United Nations Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 2270 on March 2nd. This is the strongest sanction resolution on North Korea to date. For example, the resolution contains mandatory cargo inspections, robust financial sanctions, sectoral sanctions targeting North Korea's trade in natural resources like aviation rocket fuels, coal, iron ore, as well as gold and rare earth minerals. A resolution identified 16 individual and 20 entities, such as government agencies and banks, for travel bans and asset freezes. And also 31 vessels were identified to be impounded, and 4 categories of luxury goods were banned. Now, around 2 months have passed since Resolution 2270 passed the Security Council. The unprecedented sanctions are beginning to bite North Korea. And among others, the role of China is growing important to make sanctions effective and painful. So that Korea think twice on the option of nuclear weapons and delivery missiles. Constant monitoring of trade along a North Korean border is very important. In this regard, US secondary sanctions will drive further to enforce them. If North Korea tests 5th nuclear bomb in the future, the United Nations Security Council and international community will add additional top sanctions. Perhaps is a speculative thought, but oil supply is a remaining lifeline to North Korea. I think when they go to test 5th nuclear bomb, I think international community will discuss the further sanction, but we squeezed a lot already. So to squeeze further, I think is the remaining few things very important, crucial lifeline to North Korea. Now, Kim Jong-un keeps control in North Korea through reign of terror, but sustainability of his regime is increasingly weakening, as his ability to compensate for the elites of the establishment continues to diminish. North Korea must realize the Pyongyang policy is a fallacy and is unattainable. Korea and international community will continue to thoroughly enforce sanctions until North Korea abandons nuclear ambitions in complete, irreversible, and verifiable way. The key question is, can North Korea sustain, and for how long? North Korean regime survival could be measured by the elite's loyalty. Some describe, this is some intelligence source, describe the current condition that if loyalty of elites to Kim Il-sung, the grandfather leader, were 100, Kim Jong-il, father leader, would be at 50 to 70. And the young third generation leader, Kim Jong-un, would be at 10 or less. I'm not sure whether this intelligence is correct or not, but I think compared with grandfather's popularity in the establishment, Kim Jong-un is much less, less than 1/10. That is why he is mimicking his grandfather during the whole party congress ceremonies. It seems the young and experienced North Korean leaders' regime being shaken. There is a loyalty deficit among the establishment, and we may see some cracks emerging. In early April, there was a series of defections from North Korea. 13 workers from a government-run restaurant in China defected to the south. They were the largest group to defect in recent years. These workers are no longer ordinary restaurant workers. These restaurants are part of North Korea's Workers' Party Office 39, which operates many illicit activities abroad to earn money. It is likely that these restaurants are used as fronts to make and launder money, and these workers are sons and daughters of North Korea's establishment. They are sent abroad to earn foreign currencies for the regime. Actually, there are some restaurant workers who went back to North Korea, and they insist the 13 restaurant workers are kidnapped by our intelligence people, but this is to the contrary. When you go back, and you have to argue, to the contrary. Otherwise, you're harshly treated and sent to a political camp, notorious political camp, or executed. Also, a colonel at North Korea's top spy agency, Reconnaissance General Bureau, defected the south in December last year. Actually, this Reconnaissance General Bureau was the organ who made a cyber attack on Sony Pictures in the United States. It is important to see sanctions are only means to an end. What is essential going forward is to thoroughly enforce bilateral and multilateral sanctions so that North Korea realizes it cannot ensure its own regime's security unless it abandons its nuclear weapons. I think there are many other mass destruction weapons, biological and chemical weapons, but by abandoning nuclear weapons, I think North Korea should abandon other WMD weapons as well. But the focus at this time is on nuclear weapons and missiles. Past efforts have been unsuccessful. The six-party talks kind of failed because North Korea cheated and created its brinkmanship. I think Wall Street Journal's editorial on Monday described the situation and some suggestion for the North Korean problem. I think is a very good. They give us very good guidance what to do in the future. This time is very different. Condemnation by international community is firm, even by countries that had close ties with North Korea so far, China and Russia. In April, Sri Lankan government intercepted and seized a large cash transfer to North Korea. On May 3rd, President Park and President Rouhani held a Korea-Iran summit as well. They issued a joint statement affirming their position on non-tolerance for nuclear North Korea and the nuclearization of Korean Peninsula. This is quite a step we achieved with Iran, because Iran has been considered as a close friend to North Korea, exchanging technologies, missiles, and other weapons. So this is a kind of delinking Iran and North Korea. Actually, when we make a progress on Iran, it's a good lesson for North Korea. If you have a bad president of North Korea, it is a bad lesson to Iran. So it is co-linked. So we need to be successful both ends. This is emphasis at this time. Wendy Sherman, former Undersecretary of State Department, spoke on the possibility of a collapse of North Korea during her CSIS 중앙일보 forum a couple of weeks ago. She suggested preparing contingency plans among neighboring countries on the issues of securing North Korea's nuclear weapons facilities and materials, managing migrant refugees, role of status U.S. troops after immediate crisis, how Korean Peninsula would be governed. immediate unification or confederate system. I think so all these issues are pending, but we need to discuss these issues among neighboring countries, including China. So I think is bilateral, trilateral, multilateral diplomacy need to be pursued so that we have a success. Otherwise, we have a bad precedent on the Korean Peninsula and also on the Arab, Iranian as well. Nobody is sure whether or not North Korea could collapse or how soon. However, what Wendy Sherman, chief negotiator on Iranian deal, points out worthwhile considerations. We need to be prepared for everything, every contingencies at this time. Kim Jong-un once again is trying to solidify his rule at home and be recognized as a nuclear state abroad, especially through continued provocations. Korea and the international community will continue to squeeze. Once North Korea gives up nuclear ambitions in complete, irreversible, verifiable way, we can begin our discussion on peace treaty or eventual unification. Thank you.